So Sarah, in Chapter 1 we covered the origins, the spiritual weight, and the terrifying transformation that creates a Wendigo. But I want to move into the woods now, into the field reports, the witness accounts. The moments when people claim they've seen something they couldn't explain. I've got a folder here, full of stories from listeners and researchers. Some old, some recent, and they all seem to begin the same way, with a sound in the forest, with something not right.
Yes, that's a pattern. People never start with "I saw a monster." They say things like "the birds went quiet" or "it felt like something was watching me." It always begins with a change in the atmosphere, an environmental shift, sometimes subtle, sometimes abrupt, and then comes the dread, the sensation that something is near, but just outside the corner of your eye.
Let's start with this one. This comes from a park ranger in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. He wrote that he was checking remote fire towers after a heavy snow. One tower hadn't reported in for 2 days, so he hiked in solo, and when he reached the base of the tower, he found prints in the snow, barefoot, human footprints, long, narrow, with unnaturally elongated toes, pacing in a wide circle around the tower, and then veering off into dense trees where no trail existed.
That's classic and deeply unsettling. Barefoot prints in winter are one of the most repeated motifs, especially when there's no sign of the person freezing or stumbling, just these strange tracks that seem too deliberate, too calm. And when they stop suddenly or lead into terrain no human could pass barefoot, that's when people start thinking it's not a person at all.
He followed the prints about 100 yards, and then, he says, the trees opened into a clearing, and every bird in that clearing was dead. Neatly laid in a circle, no wounds, no struggle, just still, like they'd been placed there, and the snow around them hadn't been disturbed, not even by the wind.
That's one of those stories where it almost doesn't matter if it's real or not, because it activates something deep in our psyche, death arranged with intelligence, a natural silence. And the impossible geometry of undisturbed snow, it's the kind of detail that makes your skin crawl because it suggests intention, not chaos.
Let me throw another one at you. This one's from 2002. A logging crew in Manitoba shut down operations for 2 days because they claimed something was stalking their camp. They described a tall, skeletal figure watching them from the tree line, always just far enough that they couldn't make out details. But they could feel it, and the worst part, they said, was the sound it made at night, like breathing, long inhalations that filled the woods, followed by a low, wet chewing noise.
That detail, chewing, is particularly disturbing because it turns the Wendigo from something abstract into something intimate. You're not just afraid of being hunted, you're afraid of being consumed, eaten, and slowly, and that's the essence of the Wendigo fear. Not just death, but degradation, being stripped of everything, body and soul.
These aren't isolated either. I've spoken to hikers, hunters, even scientists who say they've encountered something. Maybe not the Wendigo by name, but something wrong. There's a ridge in northern Minnesota where no wildlife crosses, even the trees grow twisted, and more than one search and rescue team has reported feeling watched. Some refuse to return there.
That aligns with traditional knowledge, too. Many native elders will tell you there are places you just don't go. Not because there's a bear or a blizzard, but because something older lives there, something hungry. And the Wendigo doesn't need to announce itself. Its presence is felt through absence, the lack of noise, the void where life should be.
Now, Sarah, what do you think about the modern encounters? The ones captured on trail cams, the shaky phone footage, the grainy videos uploaded late at night that claim to show a Wendigo?
I think most of them are either hoaxes or misidentifications, deer in mange, figures in bad lighting, maybe even psychological projection. But that doesn't mean they're not important. People want to capture proof because they feel what they've seen or sensed is real, even if the camera can't prove it. And in that space between what we see and what we feel, the Wendigo thrives.
So it lives between worlds, both seen and unseen, both a beast and an idea.
Exactly. It's the metaphor made flesh. It walks not just in the woods, but in the guilt of history, in the trauma of starvation, in the fever of the isolated. And in the stories we pass down when we try to explain why some places make our bones feel cold.
Let's go deeper into those stories. After the break, we'll explore a series of chilling witness accounts from the last 50 years, And then we'll get into the truly terrifying part: what to do if you think you've attracted a Wendigo, or worse, if you think you're becoming one.